In this video, I'm helping a buddy install a radio in his Jeep Grand Cherokee. I'm also going to hook him up with an amp and a subwoofer. When we're done, he's going to have a bumping system. This is the easiest head unit removal ever. This trim panel just pops off and then 4 screws and you're done. It's always more fun when you get to work on a project with a friend, and this old Jeep's got a really cool backstory. More on that later.
Oh, it's just so much easier just running the camera, let someone else work. Now it should just slide right out. The new radio is going to be this great big 10-inch screen from Dual. I'm excited to give this one a try because it's an affordable radio with a ton of features. It's got wireless Android Auto and wireless CarPlay, plus this massive 10-inch floating screen. And this thing's $200. So if it works well, that's going to be a hell of a bargain.
We're going to go ahead and get the power wire through the firewall, and then we're going to divide and conquer. I'm going to wire up the head unit, and my buddy's going to install the backup camera and the amplifier.
We are going to add an aftermarket amplifier, so we've ordered a 4-gauge amp kit from Recoil off of Amazon. 4-gauge wire, nice bright red color. They've added TechFlex on one end so that you can have some TechFlex under the hood. The RCAs have TechFlex on them as well. A nice healthy amount of speaker wire. That's your turn-on lead wire right there. It's usually blue. I don't know why they use a different color. And then a short ground wire. A great big full-size A&L fuse holder. 120 amp fuse mounted in the fuse holder. We won't need a fuse that big for what we're doing. And luckily there is an 80 amp fuse in the kit along with some other items. Oh, 100 amp too, so multiple fuses in the kit. I like that. Kits don't usually come with multiple fuses. We'll use the 80 amp fuse because there's no way this amp is gonna pull more than 80 amps current.
I'm pleasantly surprised by this amp kit. They crimped on a ring terminal on both the power and the ground wire, which is really great for DIYers that might not have a big heavy crimper. Plus it's a few less steps, so it's gonna save some time. Getting that wire through the firewall sometimes can be a real challenge. We've got to go through this grommet right here. And I bought one of these tools. It's basically like a giant needle. You poke through the grommet, then you thread in a smaller wire or a coat hanger or something like that, and then tape the larger wire to the smaller wire and then pull it through. Let's talk about the car for a minute. This old Jeep has some deep sentimental value for my buddy. It's got the 5.7 liter Hemi in it with 180,000 miles. It runs like a top. There's no Hemi tick. And the truck picked up a nickname. This is the stoutmobile. But that rock solid engine is not why they call it the stoutmobile. More on that in a bit.
This is the interface we're using. It's a Crux. Interface is going to come with a module. Looks like there is a USB port for programming it. We'll have to grab the manual and look and see what's required to program it. Comes with 2 different wiring harnesses that look to be exactly the same. This one says Chrysler Dodge New steering wheel replacement, and this one says Chrysler Dodge Old steering wheel control replacement. And this is a 2006 model? I'm guessing we use the old. For a 2006 model. There is a plug right here that has the steering wheel control plug. I'm going to have to use this one because the plug on the radio is this style. And then there's a dash kit. This is a Metra, and this looks pretty straightforward. There's a big plate for a double DIN radio like this. And then there's a pocket. You put the pocket in position if you're going to be using a single DIN radio, which is what we're using. And why does it not fit? I guess I'll have to read the instructions.
The dash kit was a pain in the rear. You start by attaching the wings to the faceplate, but the wings wouldn't stay in place unless the radio was attached to them. In this case, I went ahead and screwed the pocket onto the wings. And then I found out that it wasn't quite wide enough for the radio, so I had to grab a Dremel and remove some material. And while I'm doing that, I want to say thank you to all of my patrons with a big bonus shout out to $25 and up patrons Jonathan, Taylor, Joaquin, JD America, Timothy, and Bo. This vehicle has a factory amplifier, and this harness and module are designed to use the amp instead of bypassing it. To do that, it's going to run a high-level signal into the amp, and you need this piece right here. It, of course, came with the interface. You take the front channels from the head unit and plug it in on the side marked amplified. From there, this is a completely normal wiring harness, match red to red, yellow to yellow, black to black, fairly standard stuff for a head unit. But on this interface, you don't plug in the rear channels. That means you're going to lose fader control, which is one downside of doing it this way. We were poking around at the steering wheel interface and found something really interesting.
All right, so that's the steering wheel control module, right? Mm-hmm. And coming out of the steering wheel control module, there is a reverse gear wire.
Mm-hmm. Which means that's how we get the signal.
Why would it come from here, though?
Because that communicates with the car, right? I mean, doesn't it have one of these CAN bus type connections?
That's exactly what it does. It's more than just a steering wheel interface. That wire is going to put out 10 volts anytime the car is powered on. Then when you throw it in reverse, it jumps up to 12 volts. What we decided to do was to use the power antenna lead from the head unit to power the camera, so anytime the head unit is on, the camera is technically powered on, but it only shows up on the display when you throw it in reverse. I'm not sure if that's the best way to do it, but that's the way we did it. Whenever I wire up a harness, I always crimp on connectors like these for the amp turn on lead and the backup camera. That way, if you've got to pull the radio out, you just unplug those two connectors and you're off and running. I'm also going to go ahead and drill a big hole in the back side of the pocket. That's so I can route the two USB cables out from underneath the radio. The pocket itself isn't really all that functional because that big touchscreen is going to cover it up. You'll never see it, and it turns into a convenient place to hide the USB cables. So I was busy setting up the head unit and didn't get any footage of my buddy installing the amp or the backup camera, so we're just going to have to jump forward to tuning the amp, and here's a little backstory for you. I bench tested the radio in a previous video. I'll be sure to give you a link to that up here somewhere or down below the video. The internal amp that drives the speaker outputs from the head unit hits 1% THD at about 43 on the head unit, but after driving around for a few weeks, my buddy realized that anything above about 35 on the head unit sounded bad. This is because we're running through the factory amp, so we're already making plans to bypass that factory amp entirely with a 4 or perhaps even a 6-channel amplifier. But for now, to get the bass we want without shredding the 20-year-old factory speakers, we're going to grab the DD1 Plus and use it to add 15 dB of gain overlap. Start turning the head unit down.
Head unit coming down. 43.
Oh, that's right there. Perfect. 43. 42.
And there's 43.
Yeah, keep it at 42.
Okay, going back to 42 and 42.
All right, so 42 is clean with the bass all the way up. We've got the bass knob on the amp turned all the way up. We've got the subwoofer level control on the head unit turned all the way up. And we know it's going to clip at around 43 out of 50 from previous testing. Okay, now go to the next track, please.
Okay, going to the overlap track. Overlap track is now playing.
The amp we're using is a DD Audio SS600. DD sent this amp out to me last year. I did a video on it and it's just been sitting on a shelf collecting dust, so it may as well go in the stoutmobile. Since you never go up past the 30s?
It's in 35, basically.
All right, I'm gonna give this thing the maximum overlap. Should be all set. All right, the stoutmobile is almost ready to go. How did the Jeep get its name? You've probably guessed it. The Jeep originally belonged to my friend's dad, and Stout was his dog. If the Jeep was moving, Stout was in it. Stout loved this Jeep. The dog, the Jeep, and its owner were inseparable. Well, unfortunately, the dog can no longer sleep in the back hatch on long road trips, so we're replacing Stout the woofer with a Stout subwoofer, and the Stoutmobile lives on. Speaking of the subwoofer, this is a Dayton Audio Ultimax 2. This is the 10-inch version. Dayton sent this out to me last year when they first released the Ultimax 2. It's rated for the same 600 watts as the DD Audio amp, so they are a perfect match.
A big thank you to Dual for sending out this head unit. I think it's a good head unit. It's a real bargain, and people love a bargain. So if you're on a tight budget and you want the big screen along with the wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, you should really give this one a look. Don't take my word for it. Listen to what my friend said after driving around using this head unit for a couple of weeks.
Pros and cons of this big cheap head unit. What's the best and worst part of it?
Best of it is I can see it better than the other units. The thing that I love the most is the CarPlay, wireless CarPlay. So at night it's really bright. Other than that, this has been awesome. I like volume knobs, but it does take a few seconds for it to go away. I had a few instances where I was receiving a call and got disconnected, but it seems to have worked itself out.
I'm Justin. This is the DIY Audio Guy YouTube channel, and I will see you on the next adventure.